Session of day one of Auto Mechanica Academy. I was talking to a gentleman who was in the session this morning as a person sitting where you're sitting right now, and his comment was that he believed that people should come into the academy before they walk the floor. Here's where all the information is that you can learn about what's going on in your industry, and we have industry experts here to share their knowledge with you. And in fact, this afternoon we're going to start with someone who's come all the way from Mumbai to give you some key insight into the challenges of the automotive industry and the opportunities in India. So let me now introduce our next speaker, Mr. Aman Chadha. The notes obviously of his background are in the handout that you have, but let me touch on some of these because they're really quite significant. Mr. Chadha is the youngest chairman of the EEPC India, which is the largest trade and investment promotion council catering to the engineering industry sector in India. He's also a member of the Board of Trade of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry in the Government of India, which is chaired by the Industry, Commerce and Industry Minister, Mr. Aman Sharma. He's also a member of the core group on transaction costs constituted under the Union Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, Mr. Joya. This is a challenge for me. This is a challenge. I'll give it a go though, okay? Mr. Joya Tiradata. I tried to, I was 10 minutes working on this one. Scindia. Thank you. And the working group constituted by the Planning Commission under the Union Commerce Secretary for devising strategies for growth of the manufacturing exports in the 12th five-year plan. In addition to that though, Mr. Chadha is the Managing Director of Indo-Nico Industries, part of the family-owned conglomerate having business interests in India, Middle East and Africa. He's an entrepreneur, an industry leader with vast experience in the engineering sector. He's also a global director of one of the leading cooperative banks in Mumbai, a member of the National Managing Committee of the Federation of Indian Exports, and I don't know how he's got time to be here today. But please, I'd like you to give him a warm welcome as he shares with us now the Indian automobile industry opportunities and challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, friends. Let me talk a little bit about the organization I represent, EEPC India. We're the largest trade and promotion body in the engineering sector. We were set up under the Ministry of Commerce in 1955 when engineering exports were a mere $10 million. And today we've grown to nearly $60 billion, growth of roughly 6,000 times in 5.5 decades. We have a membership strength of roughly 13,000 companies, and 60% of which belong to the SME sector. Well, India has a rich historical legacy when it comes to engineering. The Iron Pillar of Delhi is one such example. The 7-meter pillar built around 375 AD is a testament of ancient Indian blacksmiths. It's a marble that has attracted archaeologists and metallurgists for the composition of its metals. It's not corroded for more than 1600 years in the open air. 1,000 years later comes another wonder car, the Nano. It's the cheapest car in the world today with a price of roughly $2,000. We do know about its little bit of hiccups that we do have, but we are getting around that. The engineering sector, as I said, I represent, is the largest segment in the overall Indian industrial sector, contributing roughly 3.48% of India's GDP. Nearly 30% of investments take place in this sector, and around 63% of foreign collaborations are in this sector too. Engineering exports contribute roughly 20% of India's total exports, of which auto parts is roughly 19%. This is the largest sector in the basket of engineering exports. India ranks only second to China in terms of investments as a percentage of GDP. So you look at the chart out there, beating Japan and Russia. And India has also been ranked third amongst the attractive global destinations for foreign direct investment by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD. The country is also ranked as second most promising destination in a recent survey conducted by the Japan Bank. And the cumulative FDIs into the country have reached close to 193 billion from 2000 to 2013. Let us come to some factors that has helped India grow. If you see, we start with the infrastructure development. There is an increased investment in infrastructure. India is in the midst of a massive overhaul in infrastructure with large investments required to maintain its targeted GDP growth of roughly 9%. The growth is largely driven by power, accounting for close to 41% of the total investment, followed by roads, oil and gas, small sectors like ports and airports. This is driving the growth in the engineering sector. The concept of SEZ is fairly new to India, but we're fast moving to making world-class SEZs in the country. Coming to favorable business environments, India not only has availability of abundant workforce, but is also highly skilled. And the US and Singapore are the only countries that outrank India in the availability of skilled workforce. Growing capabilities of Indian engineering firms, availability of raw material, conducive and stable regulatory mechanism in large domestic markets are also there. High production volumes and new capacity additions. As of January, $35 billion capacity expansion was under implementation, with approximately 50% of the capital expenditure going into plant and machinery. We also have a large auto manufacturing base. In fact, India is fast developing as a global hub for small cars. Most of the American, Japanese and European giants have set up manufacturing bases in India. To name a few like GM, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Suzuki, Hyundai, Volkswagen, Renault. Availability of workforce. India has a large workforce as we churn out 500 PhDs, 200,000 engineers, 300,000 non-engineering postgraduates, and 21 million graduates every year, probably the largest in the world. Proximity to importing countries. India is very strategically located with proximity to Middle East and Southeast Asian markets. And we also have good linkages to Africa, Europe, and USA. Well, India is keen to boost its manufacturing sector and raise its share in GDP from the present 16% to 25% of GDP by 2022. The highlights of the new manufacturing policy are to create 100 million jobs by 2022, creation of appropriate skill sets for the rural population, increase value addition in manufacturing, and enhance global competitiveness. The Indian automotive industry has emerged as a sunrise sector in the Indian economy. In 2011-12, there were 20 million automobiles of different segments manufactured in India, as shown in the table here. India is emerging as one of the world's fastest growing passenger car markets and second largest two-wheeler manufacturer. It is also home for the largest motorcycle manufacturer and the sixth largest commercial manufacturer in 2011. In fact, if you look at the passenger chart, from 1.3 million to roughly 3.1 million cars have been produced, the highest growth of 138%, followed by commercial vehicles at 133%. The auto sector has been growing in tandem with the engineering sector. In fact, they are, as I said, they are roughly 19% of the total exports of the engineering goods. While engineering goods did decline last year from 58 billion to 56, the auto sector grew from 9.8 billion to 11.04 billion in exports. Our main exports remain automobiles, which roughly account for close to 55%, 54.82 to be precise, and the rest are of all automotive parts. UAE seems to be appearing as one of the top export destinations of automobile and automobile components from India. India exports to developed countries is mainly automobile components and accessories at roughly 16% to US and UK alone. This speaks of the quality that India churns out. Whereas African countries is where maximum automotive products, rather the automobiles go. This is an interesting slide. Some important developments and investments which has taken place in India. Yamaha Motor Company has decided to take advantage of the large pool of talent available in the country by setting up its fifth global R&D in India. Honda plans to invest $462 million in a new assembly line with a capacity of 12,000 units annually. Suzuki Motors is setting up a greenfield unit for pickup trucks, LCVs and SUVs at an investment of 277 million. Volvo is going to expand its portfolio for the Indian market, and Rolls-Royce to launch Indian edition of their cars. Escorts Limited to sell Ferrari brand of tractors, TVS Motors and BMW to jointly develop motorcycles for the Indian market. Bajaj Auto and Kawasaki plan to assemble Bajaj products at Kawasaki plant in Indonesia and sell them through the Kawasaki network. The Indian automotive aftermarket is a large and growing aftermarket. It is currently estimated at roughly 33,000 crores or 5.9 billion US dollars, where the global market is roughly 270,000 crores or US dollars 48 billion. So we are a bit above 10% in the world market. In fact, India has been one of the few markets globally to buck the recessionary trend and recorded a strong 30% volume growth in the financial year 12. Keeping the growth potential of the sector in mind, the Department of Heavy Industries has developed an automotive mission plan for the 10-year period 2006-2016. The plan aims at doubling the contribution at automotive sector in gross domestic product or GDP by taking the turnover of US dollars 145 billion in 2016, with special emphasis on export of small cars, MUVs, 2 and 3-wheelers and auto components. In fact, the rapid improvement in infrastructure, huge domestic market, increasing purchasing power, established financial markets, stable corporate governance have made India a very favorable destination according to the Automotive Mission Plan. While we acknowledge our strengths, we also recognize our weaknesses. Some of the challenges that the Indian auto industry faces are given on the right side of the slide. Low investment in R&D. Indian companies don't usually invest in R&D and they prefer the reverse engineering route, especially in the SME sector. But this is changing fast. With the government giving tax breaks for investments, a lot of companies are getting their own R&D done. And it's a perception that India cannot develop a globally acceptable quality. This is also due to the brand India image that was associated with India as a source of low value, low quality products. India is fast changing this. The portfolio is being moved and they are moving up the value chain to manufacture high value products at globally acceptable quality levels. Besides these challenges, there are problems related to land and infrastructure. Both government and India are quite aware of these issues. The land acquisition problem took an ominous prediction with respect to the Nano project in West Bengal. The government has now proposed a new land acquisition bill to sort out the problem of acquisition. Further, the 12th five-year plan envisages US dollars 1 trillion worth of investment in infrastructure sector to overcome the infrastructural bottlenecks in the next 5 years. US $1.167 billion is being invested in 26 ports in the year 2012-13 alone to add capacity to 114 million tons per annum. Despite all these challenges, there are immense opportunities. Let me reiterate that India is expected to become the 11th largest market for Renault by the end of 2013, as per Carlos Ghosn, the chairman and CEO of Renault. India is expected to be a critical global hub for Renault, along with Brazil and Russia. As mentioned earlier, the Automotive Mission Plan aims to emerge as the destination of choice for the world for design and manufacture of automobiles and auto components, with output reaching a level of 145 billion, accounting for 10% of GDP and providing additional employment to 25 million people by 2016. The ease to enter through the 100% FDI automatic route, growing domestic market, trained manpower at competitive rates are a few reasons for you to enter the Indian market before your competition gets in. A few years ago, Government of India had approached Nissan to invest in India, and they declined by saying that there were too many players and very little volumes. In 2013, Nissan would invest 320 million in a second plant in India. Another opportunity that is coming our way is the defense offset clause. 30% of the budget, which is second largest in the world, probably at 37 billion annually, would be given to Indian companies, whether it was for vehicles carrying rocket launchers or tanks or any kind of automotive products, would be procured from these companies in India. So it's a large opening available for companies to set shop and set take opportunity of the 30% offset clause which is there. What EPC does to achieve this goal, just give you a quick short review, we're running short of time. Our job is to play the role of a coordinator of various branches of the government. We work with different ministries of the government and autonomous institutions like the National Skill Development Council, National Small Industries Corporation, the DGFT, Director General of Foreign Trade, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, missions abroad and formulation of policies and promote auto products abroad. This slide shows some of the agencies in India with whom we work to promote the MSME sector in particular, which also works with the auto sector. We are here with roughly 86 companies, Indian companies with ACMA and EEPC together, spread across 1,000 square meters, and we request you all to come and visit the Indian Pavilion. EEPC, the organization as I represent, has been working at the helm of global participation, where the world leaders have blessed us. On the left you see our Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel at the Hanover Fair in 2006, where India was the partner country. On the right is the Prime Minister of Czech Republic, Mr. Peter Nikas, visiting us at the Brno show in 2012. The President of Colombia, Dr. Juan Manuel Santos, received the EEPC delegates at the Presidential Palace, and we were around 200 companies welcomed there. In fact, I'd like to point out that 20% of the taxis on the roads of Colombia are all of Indian origin. They're all vehicles being exported from here. The Indian Santro, as we call them, is called the ethos in the international markets. The President of India, our Honorable Pranab Mukherjee, awarded EEPC the Best Council Award this year rather. And if you do want to get into the Indian market, come into our IESS 2014 in the beginning of this year, which is, our focus is on the auto sector, and Skoda was our partner last year, and very, very well accepted. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies, for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much to share about what's happening in India. 80 companies represented here at Automechanica this year from the Indian market. Look at all that growth that's taking place in India. That 100 million jobs that are going to be created by 2022. And of course the growing impact on the automotive industry. Here's one other thing that I've just realised and discovered from the information that Aman shared with us. They have a need in the agricultural industry to produce more crops and to produce more food for the people. So they're bringing in Ferrari tractors to plough the ground really quickly. As for the Indian Rolls-Royce editions, I'm not so sure they've had Rolls-Royces in India for a long time, and now they're bringing a particular Indian edition for a Rolls-Royce. What an exciting market. Let me now introduce our next speaker. Now we move to the accessories industry. And